So one of my agents asked me the other day, we're at the time of year where there's multiple offers on properties, spring market's heating up, and Greg asked me, thank you Greg for this question, is how do you get your offer accepted when there's multiple offers in a situation? And so we had actually came up with a plan last summer when it was really hot, and I just wanted to share with everybody kind of the question or the answer that I gave to Greg and to my team and how we get our offers accepted when there's multiple offers on a property. And first is a pre-approval letter instead of a pre-qualification letter. It's super important because naturally a pre-qualification letter just means that the buyer is breathing and they're creditworthy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they've verified their income and their assets. So being able to have a pre-approval letter where the buyer actually has already verified income and assets and the bank knows that they can get the loan provided, nothing changes before closing, gives you a really strong heads up or hands up with regards to the listing agent on the other side. So do your best to get a pre-approval as opposed to a pre-call and or a strong proof of funds if they're paying cash. Second is, depending upon the type of financing, even in FHA or VA financing, removing the appraisal condition, because as we know in this market, sometimes we have to go over the asking price in order to get our deal done. So if the appraisal comes in just a few $1,000s low, and you move the appraisal condition, then the buyers can either make up the difference or you can just trust that it'll appraise out. So the buyer has to be really comfortable and really want the property in order to do that, but it really makes the seller feel good. And I can tell you we've done that on the reverse on our listings last year, and one even sold $20,000 higher than what we had it listed at, and the appraiser appraised it, and it was an FHA deal. So just think about that one and try removing the appraisal condition. Third is earnest money. And earnest money is crazy important because it just means it's the buyer's willingness to agree to their terms and conditions and what they say they're going to do in the contract. So getting as high of earnest money as you can is super important, because we all know that 99.9% of the time, unless a buyer just totally backs out of a contract, there are so many conditions and contingencies in the contract itself that there's multiple ways for a buyer to legally and ethically, cancel that contract if something changes. So the more earnest money you give, the more skin in the game, basically, is the way the seller looks at it, and the more confident they are to accept your offer as opposed to another one. The next one, and this is just kind of a play on words, but I can tell you it really does make the seller feel safer, because what is the one thing that sellers hate when you're going through inspections? They always say, we don't want the buyer's agent or the buyer or the inspector to totally pick our house apart. We don't want to fix anything, or we're not fixing anything if it's not major or something like that. So what we've started doing is writing into Section 16 of our contract that the inspections are for the buyer's peace of mind and safety issues only. So, but what does that mean, really? It just means pretty much the same language in the contract, but it sounds better. It means that your buyer is telling the seller that, hey, we just want to know what kind of condition the house is in. We're not planning on nitpicking your house apart, and unless it's a safety issue, we're good. We want to buy the property. So try putting some similar or that language specifically in if you write that down, which is inspections are for buyer's peace of mind and safety concerns only. So it just really gives the seller on the other end an opportunity to feel like they're not going to get, nitpicked on their home. And then finally, it's rarely done because I, am a strong listing agent in this market, and I don't get these calls, so I know it doesn't happen. So what I've done is we all know that getting along with the other agent on the other side is super important, and understanding one another. And so what we do is we reach out to the agent on the other side and say, hey, other than price, because we all know price is important to a seller, other than price, like, what is it that your seller wants out of this transaction? What is important to them? So you're really reaching out to try to find out in advance if, you need occupancy at closing, or if you can give the seller 30 days. I mean, if your buyer's not in a hurry to get into anything, then, it's much more safe and comfortable for a seller to have a few days or a few weeks to move out, after the property closes. So I would really encourage you to reach out to the other agent and find out, other than price, what's important to the seller, what other terms might be might be there, so that your buyer can meet that seller where they need to be and hopefully get their offer accepted. So hopefully that was helpful. Combine all 5 or just use one of them or none of them, whatever you like to do. But I can tell you it's helping us get a large portion of our properties or our buyers under contract in multiple offer situations. So thanks for listening in and have a great day.